Tengo el honor ahora de presentar a Abdul Razak Dzulkifli. Él es vicecanciller de la Universidades de Malasia desde el año 2000. En la actualidad actúa como vicepresidente designado de la Asociación Internacional de Universidades, IAU, una organización afiliada a la UNESCO. Se ha desempeñado como presidente de la Asociación de Instituciones de Educación Superior del Sudeste de Asia en 2007 y 2008. También es miembro del Encuentro de Asia-Europa, miembro de la Organización Mundial de Salud, de expertos en políticas de drogas y gestión desde el año 1995 hasta el presente, y actualmente es el presidente del Consejo de Examen de Malasia y miembro del Consejo de Educación Superior Nacional de Malasia. Ha sido columnista del Tiempo New Street desde el año 1995 y ha contribuido a no menos de 400 artículos sobre ciencia, salud y temas de actualidad. Algunos de los artículos ahora están compilados en una obra de 3 volúmenes que lleva por título Expresando preocupación. Por sus servicios y contribuciones ha recibido numerosos premios, entre ellos en 1999 All Hanson, Premio Internacional, el Premio al Liderazgo Mundial 2000 académico a través de la Fundación Robert Wood de Estados Unidos, entre otros. Muchísimas gracias, doctor, por su presencia en este evento.
Thank you very much. Good morning and greeting of peace, Madam Chair, members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me to this very auspicious conference. I am very aware that I can only speak English but not Spanish, and therefore I will try to present my thoughts in English as slowly as possible so that you can get a good translation out of it. I'm also very aware that I'm the only one from Asia, and for that purpose, maybe just to introduce to you where I come from. I come from Asia, with a place where Luis put a question mark, but certainly I feel we are still part of the developing world because many of the issues that was raised this morning relates very much to the questions that I am going to address today, and also the issues that we are dealing with every day in Malaysia. I come from an island called Penang, and this island is part of Malaysia, and that is a view of my university in Penang, where some of you, or at least Luis, has been to this particular island. The university is situated on the island. The island is a kind of a modern state where it deals a lot with manufacturing of electronics. Some of the electronic gadgets may have come from Penang. And we at this university try to interact with the community on the island and in fact even beyond. The university is just like your university. We are just 41 years this year. We established in 1969. We are a public university of 29,000 students with about 8,000 postgraduate students. This is also just to show you how far Malaysia and Penang is from Loha. I took 30 hours to travel from Malaysia to Loha. Indeed, it is worth it, but it is a kind of a price that we have to pay in trying to collaborate between countries of very different regions. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Romero for extending this invitation, and I hope this can be a beginning point between my university, at least with UTPL, or if not for Asia and Latin America, to work collaboratively together on a South-South sort of cooperation. Let me very quickly go to what the university is all about. This is a very brief history of how the university evolved. University Science Malaysia means science in the technical sense that we have been speaking today. University, as I say, established in 1969, and we have gone through the 40 years anniversary in 2009. At that particular point, we asked the same question that you're asking today. Where is the university heading? What is the future of the university, and what sort of future do we want to create for the university? Over a period of time, we see a lot of things happening around the world. but the university has not picked it up. One of the ideas is the idea of sustainability that was brought out in the United Nations through the Brundtland Commission in 1987, and later on becomes a major debate among people around the world, but the university remains aloof with this kind of a concept. In 2005, we begin to look at this concept. We begin to see whether this concept is something that the university should embrace and take it upon themselves as a mission of the university. So in 2005, we organized what we call a scenario planning for the university. For 20 years ahead, from 2005, or 30 years ahead from the year 2005, where do we see university, particularly University of Science Malaysia, will be? And this becomes an idea for us to move ahead and to create the environment for the new university, as it were, which I will go through with you very quickly this morning. Out of that discussion comes out a blueprint called the Transforming Higher Education for a Sustainable Tomorrow. After understanding what sustainability is all about, after understanding the vulnerability of not only universities, but also societies in developing world, we feel that the university needs to take up a different kind of a mission. And the mission statement for our university is transforming higher education for a sustainable tomorrow. The word transforming to us means creating values, creating new commitments, and also building up a new sort of model or a metaphor for a university moving ahead if we want to create a sustainable world or a sustainable society as such. Here's very quickly what the representation of this transformation looked like. We understand that the university of yesterday has got very few elements that could be sustainable. To be sustainable, we need not only to talk about economy, we also need to talk about social cultural values, we also need to talk about environmental ethics and environmental values. And therefore, it has to be a transformational sort of process taking place, that therefore this transformation process will also impinge on what we call now nurturing and learning rather than teaching and learning, because we think people need to be nurtured rather than just taught, because they are human beings as such. There must be a new look at what sort of services do we want to render and to whom do we want to render these services, and how do our students and our staff get involved in this kind of services. And finally, what sort of research and what sort of innovation do you want to do? Although research and innovations are important for the universities, but the question we ask ourselves, what sort of research and what sort of innovation, whether it can be sustainable, whether it could benefit the larger mass of people around the university, if not around the world. On that, we create a sense of value, the value of quality that's been talked about many times when we talk about the future of the university or the development of the university. But quality has to be contextualized. In our sense, we think that quality must be based on equity. Quality that only fits on one side of the society, that do not fend for the other side of the society, is a quality that we think is a missed. And therefore, we need to bring the question of the understanding of equity in the whole understanding of quality. And that brings us to another set of values like accessibility. If it is quality and if it's not accessible, then the quality do not mean very much to the people that we want to offer this quality. It has to be available, it has to be affordable, and it has also to be appropriate to the community, to the society, or to the nation that it's supposed to serve. So these are the values that we are trying to inculcate within the university. Each time we ask ourselves what sort of changes we need to make, or what sort of impact do we need to have. These are the values that comes in discussion many a times. And where do we direct all this? We direct to the people, has been said early in the morning, people who are marginalized, people who have not had the opportunity to have education, people who have not had the resources to be educated. These are the people we are trying to reach. The word bottom of the pyramid or the bottom billions are cliches used by many authors. Pralahat is one of them, Paul Collier is another. But for us, it means people who we can reach out through education, who we can collaborate with through education, and who we can link with them as far as knowledge transfer is concerned. And very immediately, we need to make this a realistic sort of change. It cannot be a change that is too far ahead that we sometimes lose the meaning of it, or it becomes a very abstract meaning. And what is immediate for us are some of the goals that has been agreed by world leaders around the world, through United Nations, for example. And one of these, I'm sure you know, is the Millennium Development Goal that was started in the year 2000, that will finish in the year 2015, which is 2 years from now. And what are the universities' role in trying to make Millennium Development Goal a success throughout the world, if not within your own community? The question of education for all, which also will terminate in the year 2015, and the education for sustainable development, which will terminate in the year 2014. These are very immediate goals for the university. These are opportunities for the university to demonstrate that they are also within the community that has its own commitment to raise the level of communities' living or education or whatever target that we have set for ourselves. In that sense, this is what I call the transversal aims that you are trying to bring within this particular discussion. The transversal aims are there for us to serve if we are a university that is very sensitive to many of these goals that has been put ahead in front of us, be it poverty, be it hunger, be it gender inequality, be it maternal death or infant death, or even collaboration among people who have got similar ideas of trying to promote this kind of values. The other sort of transversal aim is spelled out in what we call the education for sustainable development, which talks about the overall goal of those decades. Education for sustainable development is to integrate values inherent in sustainable development into all aspects of learning and to encourage changes in the behavior that allows for a more sustainable and just society for all. This is a big agenda in my university, that each time when we produce or we propose a project, the question is whether will it produce a more sustainable or a just society for all. And if it's not, then what can we do to make it more sustainable and to make it more just for the people we are trying to serve, right? The basic vision of this education for sustainable development is a world where everyone has the opportunity to benefit from education and to learn the values, behavior, and lifestyles required for a sustainable future and for a positive societal transformation. So indeed, these are goals which is very close to the university. But unless and until the university learn the meaning of these programs and reach out for this program and embedded it into its own curriculum and programs, then it becomes a meaningless sort of program or agenda even at the international level. By and large, what we are trying to say and what we are trying to, I hope, do, as I listened this morning, is trying to bring an equitable sort of place to live in as far as the world is concerned. We know that it's not an easy task to do because the disparity has been very, very skewed. 80% of the world resources is used by 20% of the world population, whereas 20% of the world resources is used by 80% of the other world population, particularly in the developing world. But we must do something about it, and education, I thought, is a good place to begin if we can understand what the problems is all about as far as bringing this kind of equity. Another example that is very, very clear, that we can do something when we look about ecological footprint. Often we look at the North as examples, but these are examples sometimes that we need to query whether this is a good example for us to follow. If we look at the ecological footprint, countries like US, Australia, UK, Germany, most of the developed world has sort of exceeded its limit as far as ecological footprint is concerned, when the world average is just about 2.11 or something like that. Even my own country, Malaysia, has exceeded that particular world average, and it is a concern to us for a university, how do we pull Malaysia back to make sure that it uses resources wisely as far as that is concerned. So these are issues that needs to be talked about. These are issues that needs to be discussed. Otherwise, we find that we are beginning to unwind some of the little development that we've made in our parts of the world. Places like Ecuador, places like Malaysia, we have made some progress, but until and unless we guard this progress very well, we're beginning to see the unwinding of it as far as the world crisis is concerned, be it the climate, be it economic, be it ecological, or be it even human sort of crisis, as it were. Yeah? By the year 2015, when all these big agendas is over, and we are then asked, what is the contribution of university, what is the contribution of universities and higher education towards meeting this agenda, then I think we need to give a very truthful answer. And my worry is that as we unlock this door, we will find a lot more people will be dying by the year 2015 or even beyond, because universities are not ready to take up that goal, to take up the social commitments that we talk about, because we are still organized in a very different sort of paradigm, in a very different sort of way to meet so-called the need of university and the society around us. And why is this so? We begin now to look and see how our university, my own university, can change its mission. And as I mentioned to you, the vision will be transforming higher education for a sustainable tomorrow. We've indicated that our mission will be to pioneer some of these areas that we need to work together as a transdisciplinary research, and then to empower future talent that enables the bottom billion to transform their economic, social well-being. In other words, to transfer knowledge as much as possible to the people who need them by doing research that is appropriate for them, accessible and available for them. Those are the values that I've mentioned to you: quality, equity, affordability, accessibility, appropriateness, and so on. And the last down there will be the 7 trusts of sort of guiding principles of what we want to do as far as university is concerned, looking at the future to make sure that it is a unique sort of endeavor. This is not an endeavor that has been repeated. Normally, we always copy somebody else's so that we can be in the same limelight as they are, but we want to be unique in this particular case. It has to be sustainable. The focus will be humanity. It has to be universal. It must be a product of change, and it also needs a certain amount of sacrifice, because without sacrifice, we will not be able to make the change that we want to make over a period of time. As it stands now, at least from my point of view, when we talk about university, this has been the focus. We've been talking about economy, economy, economy all the time, which is not wrong, but we have neglected 2 other very important components, which is the socio-cultural values and also the ecological values. So it becomes like an inverted Mickey Mouse, as it were. The small ears and the big face, and this is what we need to change, so that we bring a lot more values as far as socio-cultural is concerned, and bring a lot more values as far as ecological and environmental ethics is concerned, so that it becomes a very balanced sort of future for the university and the missions ahead. Okay? These are some of the imbalances which I'm sure you know. That is not going to go away. We read newspapers again and again that these things are getting more and more acute. We have lots more problems to tackle if we do not begin right from the beginning with the foundation of the university that we want to build. So the impetus for us is to revisit the commitment and values of university and education in general, comes from a felt need to counterbalance forces in an education system in which the development of human beings are being gradually substituted by the word human capital. In Malaysia, you see the word human capital all the time, and sometimes I ask myself, or we ask ourselves, where is the human being if we talk so much about human capital? In other words, where is the value for being human, and where is the commitment and the ethics in developing humanities if we just focus on the capital part rather than the being part as such? So these universities today, very quickly I'm going to summarize, in a place where Galapagos is so near and Darwin talks about evolution, I thought there is a kind of evolution as far as the university is concerned. We have arrived at a point where we think human being can make a difference. But because of the forces around us, particularly the marketplace and some of the very scientific sort of forces around us, we become very robotic. We become almost inhuman. We sometimes dehumanize other people. And now it begins to take place as though we begin to subdivide all these disciplines that we've got, that we've lost meaning as far as humanity is concerned. We begin to be part and parcel of the world economic order, as it were. We work for other people, that sometimes do not derive benefit for ourselves. And this is what I see is happening around us. What we need to do now is perhaps to humanize this university. Humanizing the university means to bring about a very fundamental value in the people who run the university, the people who learn from the university, and the people who interact with the university. This is not an easy thing to do, but I think it has to be done, and the university needs to bring a lot more discussion of this nature so that we can find a way out as far as increasing values for the university. And finally, if we are able to do this well, we will be able to create what I would call a human university. A human university basically talks about human being the center focus for the university rather than all the things that we have talked about earlier about what makes a university. It is very important, therefore, that we begin to focus on what human beings can do and what human beings need for the future so that the university can also undertake the same change. So, when the human beings are treated no more as a cogs in a mission, the whole idea of human capital perhaps, rather than as a valued, free-thinking individual, we justly feel that their humanity has been compromised. The university, therefore, seek to right the imbalance by transforming the situation that ensure that their humanity is universally resolved. And to us, this is what we call the human university as far as university science is concerned. And to humanize the university is to focus on the enhancements of the core ethos of the university to transform humanity as an urgent, universally accepted, maybe the transversal aims that you talked about, and its commitment towards it. So on that note, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we hope if we can do this fast enough, in a collaborative way, if we can transform our university individually or even collectively, we may be able to save the world that is now fizzling off like a punctured balloon to something that we always look for as far as the planet Earth is concerned, that all of us owes a living to it. So thank you very much, and I hope we can interact on these notes.
Agradecemos al doctor Abdul Razak esta importante participación. Le agradecemos haber recorrido 30 horas para estar aquí presente. Ha sido muy interesante. Y agradecer a todos los ponentes de esta mesa, todos los aportes que han hecho sobre la centralidad del ser humano en el ámbito de la educación superior. Es el ser humano el que hace ciencia y, por lo tanto, lo hace desde esa formación que queremos que tenga, desde la vivencia de los valores. Los valores, el compromiso ético es ineludible en el mundo universitario. Muchísimas gracias y continuamos con la sesión de esta mañana.